So for this project, you are going to build yourself a set of icons in Illustrator that represent this class. And you will have a total of 5 icons for this project. You already know that because you had to sketch out your ideas for these icons. Anyway, what we're going to cover in this video is how to create your first icon, which will be a camera, similar to this, although if you do a Google search for camera icons, you'll see that there are already all sorts of ideas out there, and just because my camera looks like this doesn't necessarily mean that yours has to. It has to look like a camera in some capacity, but it doesn't need to look exactly like mine. But anyway, we are going to cover how to set up your document and how to create that first icon, and then you will be on your own. So this video will be fairly short. So we're setting up our document at 9 inches wide, 6 inches tall, RGB, color mode, raster effects high, hit create. Whoops, I must have had 2 artboards set up, so I will switch to my artboard tool. I'll click on the second one and I'll just hit delete. There we go, we just need 1 artboard. I am going to switch to my selection tool, which is keyboard shortcut V as in Victor on your keyboard, hence the name keyboard shortcut. I'm going to turn my rulers on, so I'll hit Command R or Control R, and now I'm just going to divide up my artboard so that I know how much space I have to work with for each of my icons. So I'm dividing it up into thirds horizontally and then halves vertically. So now I have 6 individual sections. In one section I will put my color theme, and then in the other 5 I will create icons. So let's start by creating a color theme. So I already chose a color theme from Adobe Color, so if you want to use Adobe Color, go ahead and do that. And now I'm just going to create my rectangles that represent, or 1 rectangle for each of those 5 colors. So I'll start with that first one, and I will change the color of it to my first color. I'm going to take off the stroke, and the size of those rectangles honestly doesn't matter. I would just make them all consistent. And again, you're gonna have a 5 color theme, so I will make 5 rectangles to start, and I will change the color of each one of them to match all of the colors of my color theme. Oops, I need to fix this so I don't have to keep changing that, but I will go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have all 5 of my color swatches right here. I'm going to check out my layers panel, and I am going to start out by keeping everything organized. So this first layer will contain my color theme or my color swatches, whatever you want to name that. That indicates that those are your colors. I will create a new layer, and on this new layer I will start creating my first icon. So this will be icon number 1, and keep in mind that your icons need to be consistent from one to the next. So throughout all of your icons, have some things consistent. So one of those things that needs to be consistent is the container that you put your icon in. So if you want to make it a square, you can do that, or an ellipse, but keep it consistent. And the size needs to be around 2.5 inches. I'm not going to get out the ruler and just double check that your circles or squares or whatever are 2.5 inches, but they should be around there, and mine wasn't exactly 2.5. So I'll click once, release, and now I'll type in 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches. Again, using my ellipse tool. Move that up into place. And I'm going to start out by creating that background circle as well as the border that's going to go around. I better organize. Let me get that in the right spot real quick. But then also the border that's going to go around my circle. So again, I'm going to make another circle. So still the ellipse tool. I'll click somewhere, anywhere, 2.5 inches in both directions. And now this one, I'm going to change it so that it has no fill, but it does have a stroke on it. And then I'm going to change these. Oops. I will change my colors to colors from my color theme. So I could keep everything black because black is one of the colors in my color theme, but I don't want to. I'm going to make mine sort of that teal turquoise. Okay, and I'll move that up into position, and now I can create my image sandwiched in between these 2 layers. So I have this bottom sort of background circle, and then my circle above that which doesn't contain any fill, just a stroke around it. And I will, like I said, build my image in between those two layers. And I'm actually going to build my camera over to the side over here, or I could do it off my artboard. I just don't want to build it within my circles just because I don't want to, I don't know, I just want a little bit of room to work. What I'm going to do is I'll start out with the main body of the camera. So I'll just create a rectangle. I want to fill this with a color. And honestly, it doesn't matter what color you choose. I had a little bit of a monochromatic look in my first example, but I think I'll mix it up just a little bit here. I won't have the outside border the same color as my object. But now I'm just going to round in the corners. Remember that we have these corner rounding widgets built in Illustrator. Photoshop is catching up, so it's getting a little bit better. One of the newer updates has a corner rounding option. So there we go. I'll round in the corners a little bit. I'm going to choose my pen tool, and I'm just going to create this sort of polygon shape for the top of my camera. That would indicate that's probably where my flash would be. Again, our shape is simplified down so that I don't have to make everything look exactly how it would in real life. The next thing I'll do is I will create a circle, draw it from the center by holding the Alt or Option key on my keyboard. And that circle will be the color of the background for the stroke. Oops. So I did that the hard way, but I do have my strokes of it, or my color swatches available. I'll increase the size of the stroke to make that little circle there. Okay, so something like that. So that's indicating my lens. It might be a little bit big. I could probably size that down just a touch. Something like that. And then I'm going to make another spot, a little, let's do a rounded rectangle in this corner here. Again, we're simplifying our shapes. I want that to be filled with black. And then I'm going to zoom in so that I can see those corner rounding widgets, and I'm going to pull the corners in a little bit. Okay, that is about enough detail, I would say. I could add like a shutter button if I wanted to, or any other detail, but again, these shapes don't need to be super complex. So if you wanted to add a little bit more detail, I wouldn't go a whole lot more detailed than this, however. I'll select all those shapes and I will group them. So I have them selected. I will hit Command or Control G on my keyboard to group them. And then I'll move them over into my container. Everything's a little bit too big, so I'll go ahead and size it down. Keep in mind that these don't all need to be in the dead center of your circle. So I'm going to pull mine off to the side, and if it's overlapping the edge, that's fine with me. I can trim off that excess. So I'm going to maybe make that just a touch bigger. Something like that. Again, I want to make sure that my image is sandwiched in between those two circles that I originally created. So I'm going to check out my layers panel. That image needs to come down in between the two circles. There it is. Now I'm going to select everything and switch to my shape builder tool, and I'm going to get rid of this excess over here. So I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key and just click there to get rid of that. And there we go. That is my first icon. I like it. I'm going to keep working on all the other 4 icons, and you need to do the same thing. Let me know if you have questions.